You are listening to Deconstruction Podcast, presented by the Architectural Authority magazine.
Regenerative thinking starts with the premise that, or regenerative design, that what we've been doing so far is flawed. Okay, we've destroyed ecosystems. Biodiversity has been challenged by 60%. We continue to destroy forest and jungle. So something is flawed, something doesn't work. So it starts with the premise of humility.
We can do more, right?
Yes.
We can do more than what we are doing. And the impact that we are doing in each of our roles and part of this collective that we wish to create or be part of is to participate in a space where thinkers in different areas or roles are rethinking the way that we are doing or impacting our spaces.
This episode is brought to you by WAD Designs Custom Woodwork. From design and build to installation, WAD Designs handles every detail in-house, ensuring a seamless, high-quality experience. WAD Designs, designed with heart, built with purpose.
This is Deconstruction, a space where we explore the ideas, trends, and stories shaping the world of architecture, design, and construction. From creative vision to business challenges, we dive into everything influencing the industry and how to navigate it. This podcast is produced by the Architectural Authority magazine, a platform committed to supporting creators and giving voice to those who turn vision into reality. Today's guest is Jaya Kader, a graduate of Harvard's Graduate School of Design and founder of KC Architecture and the Regen Design Lab. Jaya has spent decades pioneering sustainable and regenerative designs, from Miami first LEED certified home to award-winning communities. Her work bridges ecology, spirituality, and social responsibility with the belief that architecture can heal and reconnect us to the living systems we belong to. In this conversation, we dive into what it means to be a regenerative practitioner and how design can restore ecosystems, communities, and the soul of a place. Welcome, Jaya. Thank you for being here.
My pleasure. Thank you for inviting me, Adriana.
Okay, perfect. So at the moment, we have a little bit of a debrief before. I want you to tell us, what is regenerative design? What is what it means to be a regenerative practitioner? And from there we start off.
Well, I guess the premise of regenerative thinking, which can be applied to design or anything, is that we start from a place of the why of what to do, not so much as to the what or the how of what we do, but the why of what we do. And then it provides sort of these frameworks to start thinking about that which we have to do, if it's a project, if it's whatever task we have at hand, from these frameworks that involve not so much approaching them from what we know and what we're experts at, but from what emerges from the field. What is the potential that is inherent? Like, for example, in my case, which is design, planning, architecture, instead of imposing on a site our preconceived notions of what a project ought to be, is about being in the space and with the stakeholders of the project, with the purpose of what they're wanting to create, and harnessing the potential of what is already there. So starting with those tools of what's already emerging in place and with people and in context and in purpose, as opposed to, acting as an expert that I come up with all the solutions in my head, then all of a sudden it's something that is beyond what you can create by yourself, but it's about interweaving place, people, stakeholders, existing ecosystems.
Exactly.
That's what sets it apart.
Yeah, for me, when I first met you and I got into try to understand the meaning of regeneration and how that is different from sustainability, because I wanted you to, since you're the expert, to try to clarify the line and how it's something different, how it goes beyond.
Okay. So first of all, I am sorry for the small correction, but there are no experts in regenerative
Okay,
thinking.
okay.
Okay. I have studied regenerative thinking, regenerative design, regenerative planning for 5 years. And I have really adopted as my way of showing up in the world,
Beautiful.
um, because I feel that it's a great tool set. It's a great tool set for anything that we set out to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that what is very different between regenerative design and sustainable design.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, sustainability is a movement that emerged like in the 1980s,
Mm-hmm.
and it was about halting the damage.
Exactly.
People started to realize, look what the Industrial
It's
Revolution
doing.
has caused upon our planet. We've given up on everything that helped us have well-being. Our oceans, our lakes, our earth. We're destroying forests that, galloping speed. So how do we halt this? We're
Mm-hmm.
we're creating buildings that full of toxic materials that are making us sick. We are
Exactly.
wasting so many resources. So sustainability emerged. Let's do something about it. Let's stop
The way that we are doing it.
pardon?
The way that we are doing it. Let's stop the way that
No,
we're doing
no,
it.
let's stop the destruction.
Mm-hmm.
Let's stop the destruction, and all the sustainable efforts that have emerged, or many of them,
Mm-hmm.
they're the best solutions that the same mindset that created the problems,
Mm-hmm.
okay, could come up with. For example, the lead scale. It's wonderful. I remember I started to study lead in, when it was emerging in the 2000s,
Mm-hmm.
and um I found all the steps of the scale so relevant. I mean, a lot of them I was already practicing them intuitively,
Mm-hmm.
because
Yes.
in my projects, I mean, they had to be connected to nature. They had to feel, they had to have abundant natural light. I mean, there
Mm-hmm.
was many that I was practicing already intuitively, but it was such a good scale to have like checks and balances that you
Correct.
were
Measure
doing the best and measure. But it's the best solutions that the same mindset that created the problems can come up with. Regenerative thinking starts with the premise that, or regenerative design, that what we've been doing so far is flawed. Okay, we've destroyed incredible ecosystems. Biodiversity has been challenged by
Mm-hmm.
60%. We continue to destroy forest and jungle. So something is flawed, something doesn't work. So it starts with the premise of humility. Okay, so the
Beautiful.
systems that we've been brought up into are not working. So what do we do um, in order to come up with better systems? It starts with humility that, okay, what we have created is flawed, it needs
Mm-hmm.
repair.
Mm-hmm.
And then what you do is that you create a field of stakeholders
Mm-hmm.
that um that contribute their skill sets and their expertise in different fields, even though there's not one expert that will emerge as the regenerative expert, but it's all this collection of people that have different skills, and you allow the new answers to emerge from the
From the
genius of the
community.
collective,
Correct.
from community
Beautiful.
like Thich Nhat Hanh, the spiritual master from Vietnam. He says that the new Buddha is not going to be a person, but it's going to be in the form of a community.
Collective.
It's
Yes.
it's it's a collective. It's time for us to stop thinking so much about, what I can do, but what I can contribute and how
Mm-hmm.
I can be of service to a larger purpose.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct. In the one of the things that I feel passionate about, and the way that you explain it is beautifully. We can do more, right?
Yes.
We can do more than what we are doing, and the impact that we are doing in each of our roles and part of this collective that we wish to create or be part of
Mhm.
is to participate in a space where thinkers in different areas or roles are
Mhm.
rethinking the way that we are doing or impacting our spaces. Like, okay, why are we still using materials that create harm? Let's
Mhm.
do other materials. Let's, open that box.
Mhm.
Why are we creating spaces that don't have the proper lighting, the proper shape, the proper
Mhm.
alignment, that do not respect the geography? No. So talk about a
Mhm.
little bit to us about all of the factors
Mhm.
that in those tables, in those beautiful tables of sharing, can be, discussed.
Okay. Well, there's something that drives the world and the culture
Hmm.
of we've come to see it in the 21st century, and unfortunately, a lot of the time is driven by GNP or by economic growth
Mm-hmm.
or by the balance
ROIs.
sheet, which ROIs, the balance sheet, which is
Mm-hmm.
all about, the bottom line.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a big driver. That's a big driver. So there's the construction field is responsible for a great percentage of the carbon emissions, but
Mm-hmm.
it's very, very difficult to change it because there's huge lobbies of the concrete and steel
Mm-hmm.
industry
Mm-hmm.
that make it really difficult for new systems to
Two.
emerge. For
Mm-hmm.
example, I have a friend who's at the forefront, at the pioneer designer with CLT, which
Mm-hmm.
is cross laminated timber, which is a much more sustainable way
Wait.
to build. And literally, she had to lobby and go up against all of these forces,
Mm-hmm.
to be able to uh, prove and get building departments
Mm-hmm.
to approve building with CLT as a structural system. And now you can build buildings that are up to 16 stories with CLT. And she really had to go on this journey to make it possible because it was really hard to get it through in building departments. And then bamboo is
Mm-hmm.
another example where if you take the intrinsic potential of bamboo, it has
Amazing.
more um compressive strength than concrete, and more
Flexibility.
flexibility than steel. Imagine. And they are building incredible structures of bamboo in Bali,
Mm-hmm.
Colombia, but it's not approved here by any building.
Hurricane and all of those,
Well,
structures.
it could be, but there's a building code that is kind of very
Archaic, yes.
rigid and archaic in not allowing new materials to emerge. There's um
It hasn't been updated for years.
and it's amazing the toxicity.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I mean, I like to tell the story of when I after I became a lead accredited professional, and we wanted to install these roofs that were
Mm-hmm.
reflective, and it was an innovative material. We were excited about it. Oh, can I come when you install it? Oh, no, the people that install it, they wear like suits, special suits, because it's very toxic when it's applied. And supposedly
Imagine.
after it's not. I'm like, what about the neighbors? What about the people that are walking around the
Exactly.
streets? So more and more we find that there's so much
Inconsistencies, no?
toxicity and unhealthy methodologies.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I always wonder about this notion that we've kind of, with the international
Mm-hmm.
style, we've built like this very
Sterile.
sterile boxes,
Mm-hmm.
for human habitation,
Mm-hmm.
and we are children of the earth, and we
Totally.
evolved in natural, organic environments. And
Correct.
so I wonder how that framework of living in a box up high in the sky, how that affects our well-being and our nervous system.
It
And
does.
there's just so many possibilities for re-exploring the way that we build environments,
Mm-hmm.
that I don't have all the answers or the solutions, but I recognize many of the flaws, you know?
Yeah. And now I do believe, and part of the conversation that we were having prior to
Yes.
starting the podcast was that the new movement of the recognition that we are not living a healthy life, and everybody
Yes.
going into the wellness, going into, researching how they can improve
Yes.
their weight, extending their lifespan, improving the way that they
Mhm.
live.
Mhm.
It's helping us to reach that flag and say, okay, that the wellness or the space that you are inhabiting every day, 90% of the day you spend it indoors, is also harming you.
Of course.
How? Through shapes that are not consistent to
Mhm.
the way that you should be living, because we are
Yes.
mammals, we are children of earth.
Yes.
So the way that we relate our brain, our vision, our senses to the space that surrounded us
Mhm.
is also one of the factors that is making us sick. So nowadays, and one of the conversations that we were having with our mutual friend Jesus and Sarah, is about what is now trendy, or the new technologies available for us to measure that, because
Mhm.
now we can measure how the space impact us through
Mhm.
our heart rate, to
Mhm.
our brain waves.
Absolutely.
It's so we just need to connect
Yes.
what is existing and
Mhm.
prove that the
Mhm.
spaces that were, the
Yes.
following the old
Yes.
frameworks are
Yes.
impacting us. But in my position, and one of the things that I wanted to say before, I'm a contractor. My work is built, right? And I build what the market is, requesting. We need to change the market. We need to change the way that the people is asking for the service.
Precisely.
So if people start asking, the customers start asking for healthier spaces, for spaces connected to earth, respectful,
Mhm.
that regenerate instead of, because sustainability is sustain. It sustains. It
Mhm.
doesn't it does not create that much of harm.
Mhm.
But in the area of regeneration, we are improving. We are giving back. So that is a
Exactly.
portion that I wanted to get out. We need to get people to understand that this is the new way that
Mhm.
we can build.
Well, and that's the beautiful power that we have as designers, planners,
Mm-hmm.
because I mean it takes awakening
See.
to acknowledge the mega crisis that we're living at the intersection of
Mm-hmm.
health, equity, climate change. It takes awakening,
Mm-hmm.
because for those like I lived in the bubble of design and beauty for many years,
Mm-hmm.
and it's easy to disregard all the problems, all the, you know, sort of the 17 development goals of the UN, of
Mm-hmm.
all these realities in the world, that if we live in a bubble of abundance and design and beauty, it's easy to ignore.
Mm-hmm.
But it takes awakening to be aware of the mega crisis that we're in. And with that awakening, what comes is this realization that everything that is around me,
Mm-hmm.
that the reality that I'm living, I take responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
And it starts with self work, to know thyself. Like, I love to quote Rumi when I say this, because he has this quote that says, when I was young, I was wise and I wanted to change the world. No, when I was young, I was clever and I wanted to change the world.
Mm-hmm.
Now I am wise and I'm changing myself. So it starts
Beautiful.
with
Yeah.
self development, and then taking responsibility for everything in your reality.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever is not right, then you have the responsibility to change it by
Mm-hmm.
changing yourself,
Mm-hmm.
by changing, you know, whatever it is that is causing it, but taking the responsibility that you're the one causing it.
Mm-hmm.
And so then if you apply that to the collective, then we take collective responsibility for the state of our world that
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure many of us are not pleased with, at all those areas, not to mention war, politics. So what do we do to you cannot tell anybody to awaken if they're not in that path to
Already,
want to be awakened.
yes,
But the project can be a catalyst, because when
yes.
clients come to you with a project, whatever that project is an incredible opportunity to start uh, uh, prompting them with the
Creating the
questions
awareness,
as to
yes.
the why of what they're doing this project, as to why they feel all of a sudden that wellness is important, that materials are important, that respecting the existing ecosystems is important, that it's not just about the bottom line. It's
Correct.
about we call it regenerative capital in regenerative thinking. There's what is the whole of regenerative capital? Yeah, it's economic capital also, but there's social capital, there's wellness capital, there's spiritual capital, there's ecological capital. So when you bring all those capitals into the equation, then it gives you a great opportunity to use projects as catalysts for transformation, for change. So it's kind of like we're those edge workers right there,
Yes.
that people can come to you with a project and you continue to do the status quo, or you can use that project to inspire. And for me, what architecture has always been, it's like an infinite source of inspiration, like places that I visit where I just feel in awe, and sometimes I get so emotional that I cry, because the spaces really have power to
Beautiful.
influence us and who we are. And we think as architects that we create spaces, but more than we create spaces, the spaces create us.
True.
And there's this whole field called neuroscience, where neuroaesthetics, sorry, where they're
Neuroarchitecture, like
yes,
everything related with your perception, yes.
but also neuroaesthetics, where they've done a lot of studies of how spaces really affect our well-being
Yes,
in deep ways.
And it's measurable
And I
now.
wonder about people that live in these cubicles in buildings that all they're looking at is other buildings and surrounded by concrete. Of course they're going to get sick. That's
Correct.
not what supports our inner ecosystem.
Nope. No,
It really
completely
isn't.
no.
But that's how we're building cities, and it's
Totally.
about maximizing
Cities,
the profit, and
everything.
and building as much and as big as you can. And it gives me a lot of pain and anxiety to see, for example, how we're building cities in Miami, especially for cars.
Yeah.
I mean,
Sure.
let's put aside respecting an ecosystem, because that's part of regenerative planning and regenerative design, that you're going to go and visit a place and understand what are the ecosystems that are already there. So let's even put that aside. But imagine that you're building places for human habitation, where the contact between where people live and the earth is 10 stories of parking.
There's no connection. There's
There's absolutely no, we are accommodating the cars first and the people after. And it completely sort of severs us from the element, from Mother Earth, from being one with nature, which is part of, which is what we are part of.
Yes. One of the things that I do believe is not clear for the majority of the developers
Yes.
and people in the industry is how can we do this in a profitable way, because they tend to relate that being sustainable or taking an approach of regeneration can cost money and not be pretty. So I want you to explain a little bit and clarify that, because that's a lie. That's a lie, and it's part of the mission of being here talking about this, because we need to shift the mindset.
Absolutely. Like Albert Einstein said, we cannot fix the problems with the same mindset that created the problems. So, so how do we shift the mindset
Mm-hmm.
that it's not just about the capital,
Correct.
the
Economic
financial
capital, the financial capital.
It's not just. I mean, there's
there are other valuable things.
there's the city of Bhutan that
Mhm.
measures GNP in happiness, as opposed to in
money getting into your
growth.
account. Exactly.
I was recently at a conference for initiatives for change, and there was a workshop on nature solutions. So now you know that there's all these things about carbon credits, and how we add that to the balance sheet, and they were pondering upon how to uh, how to deal with biodiversity. How do you add the concept that you're destroying biodiversity by doing subdivision after subdivision and destroying ecological corridors, all over the wherever
how
we're
you're
building.
compensating exactly
How do you compensate that? And I thought that it was really poignant, because if any uh master, for example, like in indigenous sage or uh ancient master would stumble upon that, and they would say, wow, we've gone so low that we need to find a way to put nature, which is our mother, which is our sustainer, which is our life-giving everything, to
ourselves.
put it in the balance sheet, because that's the only way that we can find value, by attributing a cost. So there's
exactly.
there's no doubt that for us to really um start or con- or try to create sort of regenerative solutions, there has to be a shift in mindset
Mm-hmm.
as to what capital we're trying to create.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
And I think, based on what you said before, we are trying to create a capital based on alignment, based on coherence,
yes,
based on feelings, based
yes,
on health, right?
absolutely.
How we feel when we get into a space. And
Mhm.
if we start creating the consciousness
Yes.
around that, everything that we do,
Mhm.
we are responsible for.
Yes.
Because once you buy a property, right?
Mhm.
You buy the property has certain conditions.
Mhm.
You are agreeing to what they are selling, and your responsibility starts there,
Yes.
because if you start changing your mind based on, okay, is this aligned with what I wanted to believe,
Yes.
support? No. Okay, let's look for options, because now that we have met each other, we
Yes.
found much more people doing the same, looking for
Yes.
alternatives,
Yes.
speaking different words related to development, construction, design. And I do believe the raising of the consciousness is already there. So
Mhm.
we just need to speak our
Absolutely.
word and try
Yes.
to attract through
Yes.
that message
Yes.
the right people and the
Mhm.
right communities, because
Yes.
yes, the
Yes.
value is measurable in our happiness, in our health, and the
Yes.
way that we can measure now. All
Yes.
these tools, and I do believe everything happens for a reason. We are here, and we, as a humanity, we needed to go through to all those steps of destruction and mistakes, and to understand what we are doing and how we can change it, because black and white, good and the light and the
The
dark,
yin and
right?
the yang.
The yin and the yang. So for
Mhm.
me, it was required for humanity to go through that dark phase to get into the light phase. So now us, as an architect, or as a builder, as a developer,
Mhm.
as a part of the collective, how we can, with this new mindset, transform. Let's talk about the beauty that we can create. Let's talk about the
Yes.
ideas.
Well, regarding that premise of a land, of
Mm-hmm.
the acquisition
Mm-hmm.
of a property,
Starting
right?
there, huh?
For a project. So um sometimes when it's infill, meaning that there was already something built there, then
Mm-hmm.
it gives us more um possibilities, because you already know that there was part of that land that was already built.
Mm-hmm.
When it's land that hasn't been touched upon, sometimes what it asks from us is just to let it be,
Respected.
just to respect it and let it be. And that's a lot of the conservation efforts and regeneration efforts. But I like to use a quote from, one of the world's most sort of organic architects, Frank Lloyd Wright, who said that buildings should grace and not disgrace their environment.
Yes.
So how simple and how
Profound.
timeless
Yes.
and how profound, that we sometimes I literally cry because I see so many beautiful sites be disgraced.
Exactly.
With
damage.
With projects that don't merit the really the land merits uh a a, a better companion, put it that way. And other times you go to a place where you feel, wow, this is in perfect harmony with place.
Beautiful intervention.
This really contributes. This really contributes not only to the ecosystems, but it contributes to our well-being when we visit these places. And so the comparison, between what architecture can do to grace a place versus what architecture can do to disgrace a place is so profound, that it's a calling almost. It's a calling to inspire more people to gain that consciousness that let's try to work with all the capitals when we do a project, and let's try to be of service with this project to a purpose that is greater than than profit and greater than egos, because that's another thing in our profession that is this so tangled up in egos. And I could tell you many stories about how I had to renounce to that, because the industry it is geared towards building your ego, because that's how that's how the capitalistic apparatus functions. So for me, it was like a huge exercise to kind of put the ego aside, and it's a daily practice. It's a daily practice because it's so ingrained in the system of architects, like the AIA. There's all these awards that architects apply to, and then we pat each other on the back. What a good project, what a good designer. But it has to be about how we are being of service to the world.
It's impacting the world, because we can impact the world with our work, and that's part of the responsibility, the accountability and responsibility that that at some point got lost in translation. Because it's not about your name and doing beautiful things that gain a Prague School of Architecture. It's about the impact. It's about the impact to society, because we are individuals that through our roles and careers, we create the spaces where people is going to live. You impact everybody with the space that you are building. You are creating.
Completely.
You are creating their ecosystems.
It's huge impact.
Correct. So if we do not, take seriously the responsibility upon us with our career, we can do a lot of damage. And now we are picking up the pieces of a traditional, egotistic way of looking at architecture, and now we need to rebuild the new way that we are going to be in service. We need to rebuild the way that we are going to teach the students at the universities, because is this information about our responsibility as a human beings to the human society engraved in our education? Might not. It's more about the money, it's more about building, it's more about efficiency. Neither the codes are taking into consideration the human well-being, but safety, fire, AC, air, but not our balance, our health, in reality to energy, in reality to how we perceive the world that surrounds us. Right. So in your experience, that is, it's broad, what make you shift your mind? Because you told me the story about the beginning of your career and how now you are transitioning, but maybe through your story others can see the mirror that
That's a good
reflects.
question. It's my path to
Mhm.
regeneration.
Uh-huh.
So, um, I I mean, I grew up in Costa Rica, and that in San Jose, which is a city with very, very moderate climate. So just to start is you're always connected to the elements,
Beautiful.
and it's a country that is so abundant with natural resources. And I remember when I first came to this country to go to school, and I was in a building. Of course, it was winter. It was in Boston, that was completely close to the elements. And I remember that even if there were windows, I felt like claustrophobic.
Yeah.
So I know that intuitively I always had this kind of longing to connect with the elements, with the sky,
Mhm.
a view of the sky, the trees, the air. I
All the
hate living in air
senses.
conditioning. So many times I just have to walk outside just to feel the real
Breathe.
air.
Uh-huh.
So all these things I think came with me intuitively. I think growing up in Costa Rica, camping in Costa Rica, um, then I went to architecture school, and I I think that when I started to practice, especially when I came to Miami, I noticed the waste and I noticed the toxicity.
Mhm.
And even though I always try to make my projects be really one with their environments, I felt that there was something that was like off. And that's when I learned about LEED, and
Mhm.
immediately I became a LEED accredited professional. And that was like a great learning experience. But it was, and this is where I have to give credit to education, because
Mhm.
I was invited to be part of my alumni council at the Harvard Graduate School of Design. And I remember that they had this initiative called Grounded Visionaries, and it was
Beautiful.
about all that architecture could do in the world beyond the bubble of abundance and luxury and beauty that I was
Mhm.
living. And that just completely grabbed my heart and inspired me to use architecture as a
Perfect.
tool for service. And that's when I started in 2017 to try to do projects for impact. So I would subsidize uh, projects for impact with my luxury
Wow.
projects, and that's how I ventured to go to Africa
Wow.
for a school as catalyst. I participated in this resilient challenge program with the UN and the World Bank, and
Beautiful.
I was shocked that our studio was one of the winners, because we were mostly doing luxury homes, and here was a challenge to create a home for resilience for the crisis of refugees in the world. and
Wow.
and that took me on a journey, because winning that
Wow.
competition, I went to the World Bank conferences, to the UN conferences, and that's when you start to gain awareness as
Yes.
to, wow, I really live in a bubble of abundance, of beauty, of design, of ego, and look at the state of the world. And that just started to raise the awareness. And I
We
think
can do more.
the final point, and then going to all of these conferences, then venturing, I also went to Vietnam
Wow.
with an NGO to do a pavilion for peace. This was an NGO that removes mines from the ground. And
Wow.
so, I mean, all of these experiences, it just was the best school for awareness.
Reality check.
Here you are thinking that you are contributing your time, that you're working pro bono, but what you're receiving in return is so far superior. Again, when you think about all the capitals,
Change of
not just
mind.
economic capital,
It-
but all the capitals, what I was gifting, in these projects, it was returning to me tenfold. And then
Yes.
finally, when COVID started in 2020,
The biggest catalyst.
the biggest catalyst, I first of all, I was a workaholic, and I realized that, that space that COVID gave me, to just be with myself and not run
Exactly.
places, even though we kept running our office through Zoom. Well, that was an amazing catalyst. But the second catalyst was that I was part of my alumni council, and we used to have meetings in person, but then all of a sudden the meetings were, via Zoom. And we decided to start this initiative called Design Impact,
Wow.
which was a series of panels
Mm-hmm.
about design impact. And my colleagues, because of my passion about sustainability, put me to the task of curating the panels on sustainability, and that's what led me to
Wow.
regeneration.
Wow.
That's where, when I started doing research about the latest trends in sustainability, and I stumbled upon regeneration, and then I had one of my mentors at the Regenesis Institute. He was one of my panelists. I invited indigenous leaders, circular economists, agricultural regenerative experts. And that, I mean, I thought I was volunteering just to put together these panels, but that was the
Changing
greatest
your life.
gift because it completely changed my life. And I was like, this is my path.
Yes.
And after that, I went and did the workshop with the Regenesis Institute on the Regenerative Practitioner, it's
Over
called.
there, yeah.
And
Canada,
pardon?
It's Canada, no? They are
No,
based
they're
on
in New Mexico.
Oh.
But it was again, this was 2021 and it was COVID, so we did a lot of this, a lot of the sessions are on Zoom. But yeah, it's really life transforming. And since then, uh more than an architect, I am a regenerative practitioner. Like I can
Beautiful.
do architecture also. I can be a designer. I can be whatever it is that I'm going to be doing. I'm a mother,
Yes.
I'm a woman, but I really feel that infusing everything you do in life with that new perspective
Mm-hmm.
is very empowering.
Once you see, you can now see, right? Like
Right.
now that this knowledge, this all awakening in your life, you cannot build, design, or live in the same way that you were doing it before. It's
No.
not possible. So from that
Yes.
point on, and now we live in this city that we all love, but it's in
Yes.
so much distortion, right? So
Yes.
how we, Haya, this is a question from my heart, how we can bring something for that, like
Mm-hmm.
how we can infuse
Mm-hmm.
regeneration into Miami. What ideas can we bring? What panels can we do? Because for me, Miami has the potential because has the resources.
Right.
People here,
Mm-hmm.
it's building. So let's build in a different way.
Well,
How we create the awareness, how we infusion that concept or those concepts in here.
I don't think, you know, a, a teacher shows up when the student is ready,
Uh-huh.
So I feel that the best work that we can do is in transforming ourselves, transforming our
First.
practices,
Mm-hmm.
um, and 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 putting ourselves out there, with the desire to be of service and let
Beautiful.
things come. We're uh,
Beautiful.
as women in very male dominated professions,
Yeah, construction.
architecture, construction, we have had to wear those suits. We've had to wear those suits that are very
Armors.
yang armor, that are
Heavies.
very male. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
not saying male in the sense of men or women. I'm saying yang. I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying
Structure and
structure, logic, Cartesian
mm-hmm.
thinking. And um, many of the world old traditions masters, they agree that what the world really needs is a balance, is a bigger balance between the yin and the yang, because for millennia the world has been in the hands of male energy,
Yeah.
which is all about, goals and success and direction and execution, which is very
It's
important.
required to.
But
Mm-hmm.
what is guiding that? You need
Mm-hmm.
the yin to emerge. So as women, what I would do is also is try to embody that. Try to embody, because there's so much yang in the world, in Miami,
Mm-hmm.
with all the towers going up, that I think that the best that we can do is to honor all those qualities that are more yin, like compassion, collaboration,
Mm-hmm.
nurturing,
Mm-hmm.
community, and let that, you know, sort of inform that force that will take over and implement and
Mm-hmm.
manifest. But I think that that is the best that we can do. Like, right, I remember when I was very active in my practice, I would, keep running to try to get projects,
Mm-hmm.
and because you have the overhead,
Yeah,
and
you're on
you have to
the rat wheel.
get another project and another project and another project. And now I feel that the best thing that I can do is just to um, sit with myself, continue to study, follow my curiosity to things that really make my heart sing.
Yes.
Architecture
Yes.
always did. It's just the combination of place, people, beauty, purpose, and then
Wow.
the awe, the sense
Yes.
of wonder when you stumble upon something so beautiful and so perfectly crafted, that it really touches your heart.
There.
And you know just continue to follow my curiosity for things that make me come
Mm-hmm.
alive.
Yeah.
And I found a lot in sort of ancient wisdom,
Mm-hmm.
or mystical traditions, yoga, the five elements. And in the end, it's to acknowledge that we're simply vessels. We're vessels, that we're here just sort of uh allowing through our being whatever it is that needs to come through us
Mm-hmm.
to emerge. And so what we do is that we enhance that vessel. And how do we enhance that vessel? By connecting to our heart,
Yeah.
and by uh, understanding our emotions, and by allowing that which makes us come alive to
Manifest.
emerge, to
To manifest.
manifest.
Yeah. I think this is the perfect closing.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful because I'm totally aligned. Um, I'm so grateful for the time that you have spent it here with us and
I'm
telling us
grateful for the
the way of your
opportunity.
vision. And if you have anything that you wanted to say to the younger generations, to the
Mm,
people that is outside,
yes,
looking inside them
it's
to find.
precisely that. The way to connect to those higher faculties that we all have as human, but that have been trampled upon by a system that makes us only be efficient and productive and producing that, bottom
Yeah,
line.
the spreadsheet.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
the way to access the higher faculties so that we can be vessels is through our heart. It's not through our mind, it's through our hearts,
Yes.
and through
Yes.
really being in touch with our feelings and understanding what makes our hearts sing and what makes us come alive. So
And follow
that's
that.
my advice to younger generations, and to not be so prescribed
Yeah.
to a system that tells you that you have to do A, B, and
No.
C, and it has to be that way, and it has to,
No.
but to allow that flow
Mm-hmm.
of the yin and the yang, of the masculine and the feminine
Mm-hmm.
energies, to coexist within us, so
Yes.
that we can create balance in ourselves and then share that balance with the
Yeah.
world.
Follow that your high excitement. That's so perfect because
Yes.
that's how I feel.
Yes.
Following my highest excitement is what now makes
That's
my heart sing.
yes. That's how
Perfect.
I've operated.
Thank
And
you.
then it changes.
Yeah.
That's the amazing thing,
Yes.
that you realize
We evolve.
oftentimes you climb a wall and you say, because you were excited about
Uh huh.
climbing that wall,
And
because it
then
was, and
I
then
know.
why did I want to climb this wall? And then you have to rethink. And so many times it's like we elevate, and and we fall, and we go up and we fall, because we're learning what
Mm-hmm.
we thought that a certain thing would make us happy, but then it came with so many other things it breaks, and then we have to reinvent it and reinvent ourselves constantly. And I love quotes, and this one with from Winston Churchill is very
Whoa.
helpful. Success is going from failure to failure without loss of enthusiasm.
Perfect.
So here we are reinventing ourselves, how to take our skills and turn it into something new, and
we will do it again and again and again.
and again.
Thank you, Jaya. Thank you for this time.
Thank you for your interest and for your invitation.
Thank you so much for listening to Deconstruction Podcast. Your 5-star reviews really help us continue what we do. Please rate your listening experience, and let's keep building this beautiful community together. For exclusive access to more design content, visit thearchitecturalauthority.com or download our app from the App Store or Google Play. Until next time, stay creative.